Proud to serve northeastern and central Pennsylvania. This is WNEP 16, the news station. Now, Nolan Johannes, Karen Harch, pilot Jack Woolen in Skycam 16, Chief Meteorologist Tom Clark, and Joe Zone on sports. This is Newswatch 16.
Good evening. The Public Utility Commission came to town to hear questions and answers about geodiasis.
It's the beginning of a PUC investigation into PG&W's contaminated Springbrook Reservoir. Newswatch 16's Mark Davis reports, even though it may be an emergency situation, it could be months before any action is taken.
The investigation.
Right from the start, Public Utility Commission Judge Edward Casey made it very clear. The Commission sees the geodiasis problem as a serious one. The judge comparing it at one time to the crisis at 3 Mile Island. Pennsylvania Gas and Water Company was first to speak. Company attorneys saying the utility is not at fault.
PG&W is not the cause of the geodiasis, and it is believed that sewage contamination is responsible. PG&W, however, is endeavoring to resolve the problem caused by others as promptly as feasible.
Acting consumer advocate David Barris told the judge that he didn't care who was at fault, that water rates should come down and come down now.
And unless action is taken now to reduce the rates, then putting the company in a position of having to go forward and demonstrate why its rates should be higher, the ratepayers may never get any real remedy from the Public Utility Commission.
Only a small number of affected customers were able to attend the hearing and give their side, but Mary Allen of Music did, and even had an idea on how the problem should be handled.
PG&W officials should be fined with the provision that monies come from private sources or the stockholder and not the ratepayer. These fines should go into a fund that would pay for the refunds and expenses of the sick.
Realistically, this hearing is just the first step in a process which, even if it's speeded up, is only going to take several months. Now, the PUC does have the power to temporarily reduce water rates in the geodiasis area, but so far in this case, the Commission has chosen not to do so. Mark Davis, Newswatch 16 at the State Office Building in Scranton.
School officials say there's a water problem tonight at the Covington Township Elementary School in the North Pocono District. A testing lab says there's a high bacteria count in the Lackawanna County School's water. That water comes from a well. School officials have turned off the fountains and are bringing in bottled water for the students, and water samples will be taken tomorrow at Covington Township Elementary School. Newswatch 16's Chief Meteorologist Tom Clark has the forecast next.
And it sure was a foggy morning as well as last night.
Boy, it was. It was quite bad this morning, but temperatures back up into the 40s today. It didn't feel too bad. And I'll have the latest forecast from the backyard along with some astronomical news. Stay tuned.
Hey, Joe!
Newswatch 16, Mark Davis reported on PUC hearings getting underway into the geodiasis problem. Another meeting was also held today at the PG&W building in Wilkes-Barre over what the utility is planning to do to ease those problems.
This is Dan Fiorucci in Wilkes-Barre. The PG&W meeting began behind closed doors early in the morning, and it didn't break up until late in the afternoon. And when it finally was over, PG&W officials announced they had come up with a plan to partially bypass the Springbrook Reservoir, the source of the geodiasis contamination.
Two solutions. First of all, number one is the diversion of water, as we announced last week, from the Huntsville Reservoir and the Plymouth Reservoir to sections of Kingston and Luzerne and 40-foot.
Under the plan, water would be diverted from the Huntsville Reservoir up here near Dallas. It would come down some 12 to 14 miles along a pipe that's as small as 24 inches in diameter. And it would be used to serve affected areas in Edwardsville, Kingston, 40 Fort, Wyoming, and at the most optimistic, even in West Pittston. The problem is, the farther down the line you try to send the water, the more of a reduction in pressure you get. And that could cause problems with both fire hydrants and with toilet flushing. At best, the plan would eliminate the boiling water requirement for 40,000 PG&W customers. About half of those now suffering with giardiasis-contaminated water. You're hopeful that by sometime in February, maybe 40,000 of your customers won't have to boil their water?
That is correct.
Are you optimistic about that?
We are optimistic.
But despite the optimism expressed at the meeting, one question remains unanswered. The question of why all this testing wasn't begun in late December when the giardiasis problem was first suspected, or in early January when giardiasis at the Springbrook Reservoir was absolutely confirmed. PG&W officials' only answer to that question seems to be that at the beginning we didn't realize the gravity of the situation. Stan Fiorucci, Newswatch 16, Wilkes-Barre.
Thick fog and a thin sheet of ice on some of the roads in our area combined to cause many morning accidents today. This tractor-trailer slipped off Route 315 in Plains Township. The Slocum, Pennsylvania driver was not hurt, but his rig sat right here for hours before the fog lifted, and police said it was safe to tie up traffic in order to pull it back onto the highway.
What a difference. All the fog last night and this morning, but this afternoon it was beautiful sunshine, Tom. I loved it.
How about another day?
Okay.
Great.
Hey, this weather isn't too bad. It's also pothole weather. You know, all that water now sitting in the cracks and holes in many road surfaces will freeze later on tonight. And when water freezes, it expands. And this expansion will break apart the pavement, and your favorite pothole may be a little bit larger tomorrow morning. So watch where you drive. Lost a lot of snow in the backyard today. Let's check the readings as they stand. We have clear skies overhead, and we do have a breeze as well. 38 degrees on the thermometer. Humidity is 64%. That wind from the west at 10, gusting up to 15 and 20 at times, and the barometer continues to rise. The high today was 42 degrees, a whole 10 degrees above normal. And relative to what it's been like, it felt good. The low this morning, 34 in the pea soup. The normal low is 18. Records at 67 and 5 below, set back in 1961. A beautiful shot in the background, one of many streams out there in beautiful Lycoming County. Now the view from way out in space. Take a look at the clouds down to the south. That's part of the rain pattern we had here yesterday, all that freezing rain. But temperatures in the 80s once again down there in southern Florida. 83 in Melbourne, Florida this afternoon. But to the north, some colder air. Dry skies over Pennsylvania out across the Ohio Valley. Another storm system whipping down out of Alberta, Canada. And a little bit of light snow falling now over the northern plains. But this storm will track to our north and do no more than to spin a cold front over this area on Friday. And then following that, slightly colder air over the weekend, but no bitter cold air in sight. Out in the mountains of Montana today, winds gusted to 60 miles per hour. And so high wind warnings out that way tonight. But for us, we're in pretty good shape. Here's the forecast for tonight. It looks like this. Starry skies overhead. A breeze out there through the evening hours. How about up in Forest City, 24. Down there in Buttonwood, a section of Hanover Township, 28 your low tonight. 26 down in Shenandoah. Out there in Loganton in southern Clinton County, your low 26. Up there in Troy, Bradford County, 24. Now skies should be mostly clear for a sight tomorrow morning. A rare sight about an hour before sunrise. The planets Mercury, Venus, and Jupiter visible and facing southeast. Venus and Jupiter about a degree apart. That is very rare. And then you have a crescent moon, and then just to the right of that, Saturn and Mars. So 5 planets visible in the morning sky tomorrow morning. You have to get up early, though. Tomorrow, a mixture of sun and some clouds. Temperatures not too bad, near 40 once again in most places. Port Griffith, 39 the high. And that's not a bad area. Now take a look at the health watch tomorrow. Reflex is high, and the mood very high as well. So we go up above normal tomorrow, near 40, partly sunny. A shower with a cold front on Friday. But look at that, middle 40s on Friday. Colder Saturday and Sunday, highs in the 20s. We'll have more weather tonight at 11.
Okay, a rare sight tomorrow morning, and it sounded like a rare sound, a train pulling up to the airport, Tom, out there.
All kinds of noises out here.
Thanks, Tom. The case of the stolen diamond ring in Dixon City is solved tonight. Last week we told you that 32-year-old Dennis Morgan of Clark Summit was thrown in jail because police said he swallowed a diamond cocktail ring at the JCPenney stores of Umont Mall. Well, Morgan spent 8 days in jail with a bedpan. Finally, police say Morgan relieved himself of the ring, but threw it out the window. The cops found it. Morgan pleaded guilty to retail theft. A magistrate decided the diamond thief spent enough time behind bars, fined him $100, and told him to go for mental tests. The ring, police say it's back at pennies. And Joe Zone is next with the sports and a big college showdown in Wilkes-Barre.
Plus, he'll have some more bowling tips for us tonight. Lane Courtesy.
For Northeastern and Central Pennsylvania's first and only local early morning newscast, join Frank Andrews, Dorothy Lucy, Jay Christopher, and meteorologist Noreen Clark for the most complete morning coverage of news, weather, and sports. During these winter months, turn to Newswatch 16 this morning at 6:30 a.m. for a complete list of school closings, road and weather conditions, along with the most accurate coverage of the news overnight. Newswatch 16 this morning, each weekday at 6:30 a.m. At Newswatch 16, the news comes first.
There's a lot of local action in the area in sports, Joe, tonight.
You got to get in Skycam tonight and spend 5 minutes at each place. And they were having a party today in Washington. It was as if the Redskins had won the Super Bowl. And, of course, we know they didn't. Big celebration today in Washington as several thousand fans turned out just to kind of say thank you, Redskins, for the last 2 years. And as you can see, it was quite a party. Redskin hats and all. Wish I could have been there. I wasn't. Okay. If you're a college basketball, give the Redskin fans a break. If you're a college basketball fan hanging around Wilkes-Barre tonight, make it a point to drop in at the Scandler Gym at Kings. The Monarchs are home, but it is not your typical Wednesday night in the Mid-Atlantic Conference. That's because Wilkes College will be in for its annual visit. And that usually means tough, aggressive, and just plain stick-it-in-your-ear basketball. Wilkes senior Rick Schaefer has been in the midst of this rivalry for 4 years.
The game being so emotional as it is usually between Kings and Wilkes, usually the one that comes out on top usually is an emotional high for them. Last year it turned our season around. We're looking for it to kind of help us out and pick us up again this year.
For the coaches, Kings Ken Atkins and Wilkes Bart Belair, this is all pretty new. As first-year coaches in charge, both got a taste of the rivalry when the two teams met earlier this season at Wilkes, a game the Colonels won.
The schools down in the Philadelphia area, the Wideners, the Swarthmores, the Haverfords, those type people, they were pretty good rivalries also, but not anything as intense in terms of fan support and the way the student bodies get behind both teams. I think this is a lot more intense up here.
All of the bragging rights aside, the game is important in terms of postseason play. Both teams are struggling, and the loser tonight most likely will be out of the running for a conference playoff spot.
We feel that this game tomorrow could be the deciding factor of who comes in second place in our division and then qualifies for the MACs.
So it's the Wilkes-Kings rivalry, all right, with a bit more than fight at stake, and that usually makes for a terrific basketball game. And while Kings and Wilkes are going at it in Wilkes-Barre, division leader Scranton will be home at the Long Center with Delaware Valley, another team looking for a playoff spot. Want to see a great high school game tonight? Well, I hope you've got a ticket, because I understand the game between 3rd-ranked Pottsville and 10th-ranked Tamaqua is a sellout. But that's okay, because you can see the highlights right here tonight. If you bowl, if you like to bowl, if you know someone who bowls, listen to what Joe Hutchinson has to say on this week's tip. That ever happened to you? How many times? Today we're going to discuss lane courtesy. What's the proper way to conduct yourself on the lanes at all times? Who do you let go? When do you let them go? And when not to let someone go? There is one time that if both people come up at the same time, that the bowler on the left goes, and that's when he is shooting a spare. As you can see, this gentleman here has left a spare up on the lane. He is to my left. If both of us are ready to throw at the same time, it's proper for me to let him go, because he is shooting his second ball. First ball always gives way to the second ball. If 3 bowlers get up at the same time, the person in the center should act like somewhat of a traffic cop. 3 of us are ready to go. I'm going to let this gentleman go here on the right. That means this gentleman over here on the left can go. So 2 people are going to be bowling while only one is waiting. If I jumped up out of turn,
2 people would wait, and 1 would be going. Majority rules. It's that simple.
Stick around tonight. We got a big show.
Okay.
We'll be here at 11. Okay?
All right, we'll be here if you will.
Okay.
Thanks, Bill.
Newswatch 16 continues with knocking the rust from the rails.
It's another takeover story as a key industry is revived.
This is the moment.
Brides, don't forget to register for WNEP's Big Bridal Fair. Time's running out for the most extravagant bridal fair around.
It's the morning of your life. It's the time for bridal fair.
Register for your free invitation at Casarda Greenhouse or at B.J. Smith Furniture.
Finally tonight, some good news for businessmen in central Pennsylvania. A railroad group called Sedicog has signed an agreement to buy 4 freight lines from Conrail. 3 of the lines are in Center County. The 4th is this stretch of track that runs through Northumberland, Montour, and Columbia counties. Conrail had planned to abandon the track, and that would have left 30 industries without rail service. But once the sale of the track is finalized, Sedicog will look for a private operator to continue that rail service to those central Pennsylvania industries. Good news.
30 companies.
Yep.
Happy tonight, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's Newswatch 16 for this Wednesday.
Be sure to join us tonight on the update when Night Beat reporter Bob Costantini will be telling us about Schuylkill County Parish's plan to rebuild its church.
ABC's World News Tonight is next. For the team, thanks for being with us.
Have a good evening.